Hey guys, Ronnie here. This week's episode is brought to you by NelsieSpencer.com. Everything Nelsie Spencer and Losing It is on NelsieSpencer.com. There you can find links to Nelsie's book, movie, and classes. Take Nelsie's writing classes or get one-on-one coaching and sharpen your writing skills. Take classes like screenwriting class and novel writing first draft. If you'd like to support the show, grab a couple things at the Losing It merch store where we have mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, hats like this one, the one I'm wearing, and much more. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out links to NelsieSpencer.com and other things such as the links to our equipment we use and all our social handles in the description down below. And if you want to contact us, tell us you love us, hate us, want to tell us you're losing a story and possibly have Nelsie read it on the show, email us at losingitcontact@gmail.com.
Losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it. If you got a story,
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Are we recording?
It's happy or gory, so come share your losing it story with us.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nelsie. And that's Ronnie, having a little sip of coffee. And welcome to Losing It, the podcast where guests come on and tell a losing it story. For those of you that are only listening and aren't watching, Ronnie and I are doing synchronized sipping from our Losing It mugs.
Oh man,
so delicious.
I feel 10 years younger.
I do too. And you know what? You look, well, that's not good because then you really look young. But
I'd be like 15.
Look 15.
I feel 15. Prime of my life.
I still feel 15. That's the bad thing. God. So how the heck are you?
I'm good. I feel reconnected to the world again after having no internet for 2 days. I basically had like dial-up 90s internet where like you couldn't talk on the phone. It'd make that. That was like the internet I was getting. I couldn't even load. Yeah, I couldn't even load like Google.
And I have to say, I mean, I knew that your internet was out, but it seems like, okay, that happens, but it's only out for so long, right? So I kept thinking any minute, you were going to come back. And Ronnie, we text a lot. We are in contact a lot.
Yeah.
And then I started worrying because I'm like, he's in a cabin. He has no internet. He can't call me. He can't text me. He doesn't have a car. Like, oh my God, he could have fallen down a ditch.
Yeah, that crossed my mind. So the crazy thing, so when we got into this house, basically the Wi-Fi was dial-up internet. That was the plan. And then we had to get like, high-speed internet. So in order to do that, we had to contact the internet people and they said, oh yeah, no one on your street has high-speed internet. So if you want high-speed internet, we need to install this pole that needs to be approved by the city and all this stuff. And it took about a month for us to get Wi-Fi here, like high-speed Wi-Fi. We were like a year ago when I was still working for that fashion company, we would work from home outside of a Dunkin' Donuts in our car because that was the internet speed then.
Oh my God.
It was faster. And so when something happens to the internet, like the weather like messes up the wires, it takes like a team to like come and like take a look at it. So that's happened twice now. Yeah.
And yet we go on. These are the things that build character. It's like, no Wi-Fi for 2 days. There's your losing it story. That's a good one, right?
Made sure not to get injured,
I was worried and I realized I don't know where you are. I can't even like I can't even call like a sheriff's department and say, can you please check on him? I was worried about you. So when I saw you back on my phone,
mail.
You have mail.
I could write letters.
There you go. But when you finally WhatsApped me today, I was like, he's alive. Oh, Ronnie.
I got your message. You're like, I'm officially worried.
I'm officially worried. Right?
It wasn't that long, was it?
I had sent out a couple of emails of people that might want to produce a podcast. And just kidding.
So fast. So quick.
I'm just Just, just
Covering
covering
all
my
your
bases. Covering my bases. But speaking of no internet, I went to the Adirondacks what was it? Friday,
So
Saturday,
what is
Sunday,
that?
Monday.
What is that?
The Adirondacks. It's, I don't know. What does it sound like?
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
We did that bad joke before. We did it off mic and it was quite funny. And then we tried to recreate it. It didn't work. Yeah. The Adirondacks are these mountains up in upstate New York where my friend Patience has a place and there's no Wi-Fi there.
Oh.
Not only there's no Wi-Fi, if you go on a half-hour hike through underbrush over hill and dale and, with mosquitoes and literally a mosquito net thing over your head, I'm not exaggerating, that goes under your armpits and that keeps the bugs away from you. If you walk for a half an hour, you can get on top of a mountaintop and you have Wi-Fi.
Did you do that?
We did it. Oh, yeah. And the first day I
Oh.
was like, everybody's up there texting and we're taking selfies and we're, checking our emails. I go there and I forgot to bring a toothbrush and toothpaste, which you think, oh, no problem. Just go to the store. Get yourself a toothbrush and some toothpaste. But not in this place. It's so remote that it's 45 minutes away, sort of like where you guys are, from any store. And half of that drive is on a dirt road where you're going like 10 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it would have been an hour and a half round trip to get toothbrush and toothpaste. Didn't brush my teeth for 4 days.
Are you? That's what happened?
Nobody would. I kept saying, gee, I didn't bring my toothbrush. Nobody said, oh, just use mine. I think, okay.
Well, I mean, who would say that?
Well, I don't know. I would say that. And then what do? You fucking boil the toothbrush, whatever. Right? Nobody made that
That's
offer.
not a thing. That's not a thing.
Come on, it could be a thing. People are so squeamish. But nobody said that, and I didn't blame them because they would have made that look on their face that you just made. So nobody offered. I would have thought maybe my best friend would offer. But post COVID, nobody's loaning you a toothbrush. It's just not going to happen ever.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's the reason, though. I mean, like you,
God, people are so uptight. Come on, really?
Didn't you think of like maybe like making a sort of a mouthwash with?
Oh well, I did
toothpaste?
this. I had toothpaste. I did this. I rubbed my teeth with I had
That's
flossing
something.
devices. I flossed twice a day.
That's really good.
Yeah, but on the third day, I woke up and I felt like I could smell my own breath, and I was like, ooh.
Oh my god! I wonder how it must have felt when you brushed your
first
teeth.
thing when I got home. First thing, straight to the bathroom and like, oh god, so good. And once again, I builds character. You didn't have Wi-Fi for 2 days. You survived. I didn't get to brush my teeth for 4 days. I survived. Let's see, Friday morning to Monday afternoon.
Oh my gosh!
But the big thing that happened is on our second walk where the bugs were really bad. And I think everybody went from chatting to nobody was talking. Everybody's like, because it's so steep and the bugs. And you were like, I think everybody was thinking, we shouldn't have done this. This is a fucking nightmare.
That's what I think. That's my thought process on every hike that I've ever been on. Yeah. I don't know one hike that's never been like that.
Why do people hike? Why would we hike? Anyway,
Seriously.
So we're 3/4 from the top, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going along. I'm a losing it hat on and my little netting over it. And I'm just trudging, and all I'm doing is looking at the next step and the next step and the next step and the next step. And when you're doing this, where you're sort of going through a trail in quotes, there's like little red things that are nailed to different trees, so you know your way, right?
Yeah.
But every once in a while, has anybody seen a red thing? They call them trailblazers. So the person in front of you is supposed to go, oh, low branch, or, oh, there's a hole here, or look out, slippery rock. Yeah. I'm trudging along and bam, run right into a very low branch that I fell to my knees and got a bloody nose immediately.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. It's gone away.
It's almost completely gone. I've got makeup over it right here and here.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was, by the way, had a fabulous time.
Yes.
I did. I swam naked in the lake. We drank, we ate. I mean, we didn't drink. We drank tea. We danced. We laughed. We played charades. But I came back with some injuries.
Yeah. Sometimes that needs to happen.
Moss on my teeth and that free nose job that I didn't really need.
Yeah.
So who's our guest today, Ronnie?
Oh, our guest. Actually, we have interesting guests today.
Tell me all about her. I'm fascinated. Or them, whoever they may be.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Well, she's a writer. Yeah, she's a writer. She's had a long, illustrious career. She's also a podcaster.
Huh.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
She has a book. She has a movie.
No.
Yes, you might know her. She's the other redhead. Not Conan.
Yeah, people call me the other redhead. They do. And when I say people, I mean me and you.
Yeah. And our guest today is the lovely Nelsie Spencer.
I love her.
I love her.
I've heard so much about her.
So many good things.
So hi, Ronnie. I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm glad you found the time.
For you, anything.
The emails, the 2 weeks of emails back and forth.
How can I find the time?
With your assistants.
Right.
Yeah.
Ronnie, I have Nelsie for you.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Well, it was worth it, right?
Well, we'll see, won't we? We'll see if it was worth it, right? Pressure's on now.
Pressure's on. So how was your childhood?
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay.
Rainbows and unicorns. Just nothing but happiness and bunnies and ooh, so good. So funny that you would ask that. Okay, so we decided that I would tell a losing it story because I think episode, I don't know, something from when Lindsay and I were working together. And Ronnie told a losing it story. And I thought, all right, might be time for me to tell another one. Because I think that was back in 2019 when I told that one.
Oh, okay.
So Ronnie and I decided it's time. So many losing it stories, so little time. And my husband said, are you going to tell that? Are you going to tell about the time you lost your Brazilian bikini? And
oh, interesting. Tell that one.
So not interesting. Like he bought me a bikini in like 1988 from Brazil. And we went to there's these mud, somewhere in the desert of California, you go and you do a mud bath in these springs, right? These like hot springs, and it makes all this mud. And then you go in. I lost my Brazilian bikini there. He's still talking about it.
Wait, you lost it while you were in the mud thing?
I think that you go in and I think you have a bikini on or a bathing suit on. And then afterwards you go in a shower and you kind of rinse yourself off. And I took the bikini off and left it there. And he's still not over it.
Wait, you just walked out naked? I don't understand.
Yes. It's California. Ronnie, come on. No, I walked out in like shorts and a t-shirt, right? I changed into my other clothes and left.
This is the...
So that's my losing it story. Did you like it?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
Maybe we could stretch that.
Okay. So I said, no, I'll ask Ronnie if he thinks I should tell the story about losing my Brazilian bikini or losing my home.
Oh.
So which one do you think, Ronnie? It's up to you. You decide.
Well, I think we already did one.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
I think we got time for another one.
You have time?
Why don't we give him a... Yeah.
Do we have time? Okay.
We do.
Okay. All right. So it's, every time I say what year it is, I just know people listening are doing the math, or they're not even, because if you go back to the 70s or 60s, they're like, how is she still alive? So anyway, aside from that, it's 1974 and I'm 17 and I'm a senior in high school. I'm an October baby, so I graduated early, not because I did homework or studied. Meaning I graduated at a younger age, not early. I'm living with my dad and my brothers. I'm not doing great. You know,
What do you mean?
Meaning I'm depressed. Like I barely graduate high school.
Well, were you depressed because of that reason or just a bunch of things in your life? Or
I was depressed because I was living in a little shitty house in San Pedro with my brothers and my dad. I wasn't being parented very well. My dad wasn't the greatest parent. He was, even though he was there, he didn't spend much time parenting, you know? So I was very much on my own. And I had kind of been very much on my own for a while because after my parents divorced and I went back and forth between my parents, you know, my mom, and then I was with my dad, and then there was a custody battle, and then I was sent back to my mom, and then my mom finally, because I made her life miserable with her new husband, she was like, go live with your father. So then I went and lived with my dad, but there really wasn't room for me at my dad's. So I shared a bedroom with my dad, something that I didn't even realize how crazy that was until I told a therapist that. I'm something like I'm in my 30s. And my therapist like, excuse me, what? Like both my brothers had their own bedroom and I was an adolescent female. I shared a bedroom with my dad. Oh my God, it's gotten so dark so soon. So soon. I was like, I'll tell this one. This one's not that bad. And yet, so dark so soon. That's the name. That's what we'll call this episode, So Dark So Soon. So I...
Wait, can I ask,
sure.
How did you make your mom like miserable? Why was it hard to live with your mom?
Well, it was hard to live with my mom because in the divorce, my dad had really done a really good job of demonizing my mom. You know, first of all, she wanted the divorce. So my dad's language, kicked him out of the house.
Okay.
And my dad was in group therapy and he was all into Freud. So he was always talking about frigid women and controlling women. And he used all this sort of psychobabble. And because he was the cool one, you know, because he had sideburns and he let us smoke. And he took us to rock and roll concerts and, you know, had Simon and Garfunkel. I know, again, Google it, children. Simon and Garfunkel tapes, and we had a tape deck in our car. Like our dad was groovy, and my mom's the one who divorced. She became the bad guy, and he became the good guy.
That was the narrative that he created.
He created, you know. And look, when you have one parent that's saying there are no rules, and you have another parent that is like rules are everything. And you're a kid, and it's the 1960s in Southern California, you're going to rebel, you know? And so me and my brothers, you know, my brothers are growing their hair, and I'm not wearing a bra or shaving my legs or my armpits. Yeah, it was the 70s. And my mom is like, napkins in your lap, elbows off the table. You know, and my mother was all about rules. And not even that's not a crazy rule, right?
But you felt like constricted.
I think
it may have just sounded like it was just a hard childhood that you didn't want to live. You know what I mean?
It was like, unfortunately, what happens, and I think what happens a lot when parents divorce, is that if the parents don't handle it well and they're not that mature, and both my parents were pretty immature, they pit the children against each other, and they also put them in a position where they have to choose one parent or the other. And my mother actually, it kind of wasn't like the thing that felt like for me that happened when the divorce. I think sometimes when you divorce, one of two things can happen: that the siblings explode or they get closer together. And my experience was that we banded together, like me and Dickie and Cardi banded together, not necessarily against our parents, but kind of. So,
but you guys had each other's backs. It wasn't
we
like
had each
every
other's
man for
backs.
themselves.
Yeah. I at least I felt that way. I don't know if Cardi felt that way or Dickie felt that way, but I think part of the reason I felt that way is because I was the baby. You know, I was the only girl and I was the littlest, and I perceived that my brothers were looking out for me, even when they kind of weren't sometimes, I think. But that was sort of like, you know, I'm okay. I have these big brothers, right? So when there was a custody battle and my mom, because my mom and I were always fighting. She got remarried to this guy who was, you know, not my favorite person on the planet. And who knows what kind of a guy he actually was. I was a pissed off 13-year-old, you know, because I went from being in this nuclear family when I was 10 to my parents separating. And then when I was 11, they divorced. And then my mom kicked Cardi out of the house for not wearing a belt.
You were still in the house?
We were all in the house. When they separated, my mom had all 3 kids. And then, so you can see how it wasn't that hard for my dad to demonize my mom because she was pretty fucked up, you know.
She's very strict, it sounds.
Very strict. She kicked my brother out of the house for not wearing a belt when he was in 7th grade to watch the 8th graders graduate. Okay.
That was the only reason that he was kicked out?
You know, I asked my mom years later, and because she kicked out Dickie first. She kicked out Dickie first, and I don't remember why she kicked out Dickie. But I do remember her trying to kick him in the balls. That they had a physical fight, and my mom tried to kick her in the... So you see that my dad demonizing my mom, not that hard. Yeah. And then she kicked Cardi out. So I went from being in this nuclear family, as fucked up as it was in many ways, to my parents being separated, then divorced, my big brother Dick gone, my big brother Cardi gone. So I'm home with my mom. And in a way, she's a mom that I don't recognize because she's under siege. You know what I mean? She needed to divorce my dad for her own sanity because they weren't happy. He couldn't make a living and she was just done. But in doing that, she also lost her kids. Now, I'm not defending her that she kicked me and Dickie and that she kicked out Dickie and Cardi, but from her point of view, she's like, I can't handle them. Because years later, I did say, Mom, what was up with that? And she was like, well, I just knew you kids, Dickie and Cardi, were heading towards their adolescence, and I just knew I wasn't going to be able to handle them. So I go live with your father. But she wasn't going to let me go because I was her babe. Because I was a girl and I was her baby. Okay. Even though, and once Dickie and Cardi were gone, all I wanted to do was be with them. I wanted to spend time at my dad's house, my dad's apartment, and she started limiting how much I could see him. And that's when I ran away. And that's when the police brought me back home. And
but you ran away? Where did you go?
I just ran to the fucking neighbor's house, you know? And
but you didn't tell anybody and you were gone for a long time?
No, my mom knew. I had a fight with my mom. Oh my God. I had a fight with my mom. I told her to fuck off, I believe. And she looked at her new husband like, Gordon, you gonna handle this? And Gordon was 6'4", literally. We were at the dinner table. And he stood up and he twisted my arm behind my back. And he leaned into me and he said, you can't talk to your mother that way. And he had a little piece of... Yeah. And he had a little piece of steak that he hadn't swallowed yet. And he was like, you can't talk to your mother that way.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I know. And Cardi, who didn't live with us anymore, was having dinner with us that night.
He was there.
He was there. So when Gordon stood up and twisted my arm behind my back, Cardi stood up and goes, I'm calling the police. And he goes into the bedroom because these were days of landlines, right? And we had a landline right there in the dining room, but he went into the master bedroom, my mom's bedroom, to the princess phone. I believe it was a pink one, and called the police. Right?
Really?
Yeah. And the minute Cardi goes, and keep in mind, it's like, I don't know what year it is, 1971, 72. Cardi's got hair down to here. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's like, I'm calling the police. and I'm like, you know, really tough girl, right? And the way I remember it is Gordon looks at my mom and my mom looks at Gordon and Gordon lets go of me because they're like, oh, the fucking police are coming. So
it's escalated.
It escalated like boom, right? So Cardi gets in the car because the bedroom's at the back of the house, which is where the garage was, and Cardi had parked his car at the back of the driveway. So he hops in the car, he drives out and waits for me at the mailbox, which is sort of like down the street or down the hill. So Gordon lets go of me. I run out the side door. I hop in the Cortina, which was this piece of shit English. It was an English car that my dad got, for a song, and it was just a crap car.
He was the getaway car.
Cardi was the getaway car. Absolutely.
I see.
And Cardi had probably just gotten his license, right? He was 16. I'm 14. And
oh my God.
Off we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this isn't even the story of what that I was going to tell you, but it's a good one. Am I right?
Yeah, a lot going on here.
So many losing it stories, so little time. And so then we go to the neighbor's house, which was what the fight was all about. Because I wanted to go to the Gillum's house and hang out. And my mom was like, well, you have homework. And I say that like that's such a fucked up thing. I did have homework. And I never did my homework. And it's so classic. Before the divorce, I was probably an A and B student. So, probably like maybe a 3.2, 3.3 average. After the divorce, I was like C's and D's and, maybe I got.
Yeah, well, there was an obvious reason to that.
Yeah. So we go over to the Gillum's house and I'm thinking, oh, I never have to go back there again. Right? I'm free. Uh-huh. Ding dong. I did knock and then I made the ding dong sound. The doorbell rings and it's the police. And
at your neighbor,
at the neighbor's house, because my mom knew that's where they were. Yeah. So the police did come. The police came, but when my mother said, well, I have custody of her and I think she's now with her father and she's just an out of control teenager. The police were like, no problem, ma'am. We got it. So the police come.
What do they do?
And they say, you have to come with us. I was like, what? And I look at my dad, because my dad was actually at the Gillum's house. And he goes, you better go. So I go and I get in the police car.
Wait, your real dad?
My real dad.
Why was he?
Because it was sort of like he was friends with. It was like he was friends with Kirk. It's a long story, but anyways, that was where we it was a different hangout that happened to be just in the neighborhood, right? My dad would go there and have cocktails and whatever. So a lot of cocktail drinking, So So I get in the police car, and I don't know if you've ever been in the back of a police car, and this probably won't be a surprise to anybody, but there are no door handles on the inside. Like you can't open the door from the inside, right? So I'm in the back of the police car, and there's plexiglass, and I'm like, I said, where are we going? They said, we're taking you home. I said, I don't want to go home. Well, if we don't take you home, we're going to take you to juvenile hall. I was like, all right, take me to juvenile hall. Okay. And that really brave statement lasted for about 5 seconds as I suddenly had images of me,
Yeah, and juvie, like, do I want
to go? Little 95-pound white girl with like, hi guys, I got mad at my mom, and I said, okay, take me home. So they take me home. They take me back to 5 Rocking Horse, and then they come in and they say, well, let's have a little talk. And they sit down with me and my mom and Gordon like they're like counselors or something. Well, Nelsie, I think you got to be a little nicer to your mom. And I was just like, I don't think you really are in a position to be telling me what to do.
The cops had time.
Oh, yeah. It's Palos Verdes. My God. Nothing's happening there. Nothing's happening.
Okay. I see.
No, it's a very upper middle. Everybody's got a horse or a pool. Everybody's lawn is mowed. I mean, not to say that shit wasn't happening. There were like 4 kids in our neighborhood that killed themselves. So there were shit happening, like it's Twin Peaks. Like stuff is going on, but Everything looks nice. Everything looks beautiful. But the police are not worried. Nobody's breaking in. Nobody's, you know what I mean? It's a crime free. We never locked our doors the entire time I lived
like
there.
Part-time counselors for domestic issues.
They think they are.
Yeah.
But I'm all like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm here. Oh, what did I say? I said, I'm here. You can make me stay here, but you can't make me talk. And I just sat there and glared at them. I was
my free phone call. Yeah.
Yeah. That freak phone call got the police here.
Yeah, exactly.
And they brought me home. Thanks, Cart.
Where was he? Was he
at the Gillums.
part of this?
He was at the Gillums. Like,
he was hanging out.
Smoking a joint, whatever. Yeah, he was at the Gillums. It's like, I mean, not to say that they weren't upset. They were all upset. And then I ran away again. And that's when my mom took us to court for the custody battle.
Oh my gosh.
That's number one loss of home, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So losing home, number one, in a way, was when my mom kicked my dad out of the house and sort of the family that I knew it exploded. Losing home, number two, was when Gordon came in and suddenly Gordon was my stepdad. I had this new dad, right? And I didn't recognize my home at all. And then because my mom, I have so much more compassion for her now than I did at the time. But at the time, it just felt like all she wanted to do was keep me from seeing my dad and my brothers. And that's all I wanted to do because I was just trying to find family again. I was just trying to find safety again, At a time when most people were hanging out with their friends, I was just trying to get back to something that felt like family. So
something you lost.
Yeah. Which I think is a revelation that I just had. In a way, I got a little teary. So then after the custody battle, when they send me back to my mom because we lost the custody battle, we fought all the time. And my dad said, write everything down. So my mom in the kitchen, she had, how every kitchen has like a junk drawer. In the junk drawer, she always had a piece of paper where you'd put the shopping list, right? So the shopping list was about, like 3x5, right? And a little pad of paper. So I took that pad of paper, and every time we fought, I wrote down everything that happened, everything she said, everything she did. She was violent with me a couple of times, throwing me in my room. I mean, I was 14, 15, and she was trying to put me over her knee and spank me. And, she was 5'7" and I was 5 foot if I was lucky. So she was strong. My mom played tennis. She had some good upper body strength.
She had an arm. But,
so I was.
Your dad told you to write these like things down, but it was for the custody battle.
Even though we lost the custody battle, when I went back, meaning lost is that I was sent back to live with my mom. And here's the thing, I didn't even want to live with my dad and brothers. I just didn't want to be restricted from how much I could see them.
But why did you write everything down? Why did you agree to do that?
This was once we lost the custody battle, my dad said, we're gonna take this back to court. So everything she does that is violent or verbally abusive, write it down so we have evidence of why.
But you were on board with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on board with that. I was gathering evidence. So if we went back to court, my dad could get custody.
But that's not ultimately what you wanted, but it was better than the situation.
Well, at this point, I wanted it. Now I did. But initially, I didn't. Look, my mom lived in a beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on an acre of land in this bucolic setting, and my brothers lived in this shitty little apartment. Did I want to leave my home that had been my home for 10 years? No, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to especially be living with 3. It's like Monica, I'm going to be living with a boy. I didn't want to leave my home with my dog, Goldie. Was I happy there? Sort of, you know. So we lose the custody battle. My mom. I went back to live with my mom. And my goal in life was to make her so miserable that she would kick me out. And I did. And finally,
so what would you do?
I would curse at her. She'd tell me what to do. And I said, you can't tell me what to do. You just fight with her. Just fight with her all the time. I mean,
yeah,
it's been a long time, Ronnie. So I'm not sure. Like, that's how it felt to me at the time. I mean, I was so... it's funny, you know. I mean, I was so heartbroken, I think, you know. I was so sad that you know, my mom, I look back on it and my mom was so mad at me, and she was mad at all of us. She was furious that to her, I think it felt like her children had betrayed her and chosen this man who had been not a very good husband, you know, that we had chosen him over her. And because she was so immature and she didn't have any language or any skills to be able to ever say, you know, I feel really sad that you guys have chosen your dad over me, or I feel really betrayed. All she could do was double down and get angrier. And so for me, it was like, you know, I lost my dad and I lost my brothers and I lost my mom too, because she, you know, because my mom used to be really fun. Like, you know, she taught me how to play baseball. We used to play this game called Ball in the Hall. I mean, this was before she became like the rule person. Yeah. This was a game we would play in the house. We had this long hallway, and we would close all the doors. There's a door at each end of the hallway, and then there were doors into the bathroom and the kitchens and the bedrooms. And we would just two people at each end or three at one end, and we would just throw the ball as hard as we could at the other side. And it was called Ball at the Hall. Yeah. And my mom made up that game, you know? And then we used to play this game called You Can't Touch the Floor, which basically meant you just climb on the furniture. I mean, we even at one point...
The floor is lava.
Exactly. The floor is lava. I mean, so she was really fun. And then she divorced. She was like, I can't fucking do this anymore. I don't know the ins and outs of their marriage, but I saw enough to know they weren't happy, you know, and that my dad was a bully, even though he was shorter than her and had a pretty mean, you know, he could be mean verbally. So I was so mad at her, you know, looking back, I was mad at her because she'd abandoned me too, you know, and my defense mechanism, which began really young, is that I was really tough. You know, I was really, fuck you. You can't tell me what to do. You know, all 97 pounds of me, you know, I was just that was how I survived it, you know, that and humor. So finally one day when I was 15, she said, go live with your father. So I went. And I went and lived with Dickie and Cardi, which, by the way, wasn't no fucking walk in the park, you know? I mean, it was great in some ways because we could smoke and we could cuss, and you know, I had all this freedom. My dad didn't make us go to school. I had a note on. Listen to this, Ronnie. I had a note on file in the attendance office that said, "This is to excuse Nelsie for any absence she might have at any time for any reason. Signed, Richard Selden Spencer." That was my father, Richard Selden Spencer Jr.
He did that. Oh my gosh! Wow. A lot of kids, if they heard that would be the dream.
Exactly, and it was the dream in all these ways. It was the dream, of course. I mean, okay, you've got napkins in your lap. If you don't wear a belt, I'm kicking you out of the house. And then you've got, you want to write on the walls in fluorescent paint, and I'll take you to the Goodbye Cream concert, and you can smoke, and you can say fuck as many times as you want. Awesome. You don't have to go to
especially
school.
if you're a teenager.
Yeah. But is that good parenting?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? that's a different question.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So fast forward. So I live with Dad and Dickie and Cardi. And we moved from living on the hill in this, the funny thing is I always say to Cardi in that shitty apartment, Cardi's like, I loved that apartment. Like Cardi loved that apartment. He had his own room. We had a water bed. Everybody had a water bed, by the way. Except for me, of course. I didn't get the water bed because I'm like the add-on and there's not really any place for me. So then, go ahead.
It's just so funny that there was no place for me, so I couldn't get my waterbed. What isn't a waterbed literally like a thing, like a plastic bed with water in it?
Yeah.
How come that went out of style? That seems pretty cool.
They're sweaty.
Oh,
you know what? They don't. They are. First time I ever lied down on a waterbed, I fell asleep on my back, and I don't ever sleep on my back. I just laid on. I was like, this is pretty. I was gone. It's just like.
I want those to come back so bad. I'm so surprised they haven't come back.
You know what? I bet you there's somebody out there that's doing like the 2020 version of a waterbed. I bet you anything, Ronnie. Because look, it's environmentally friendly. If you're well, you're not going to have. Look at all those mattresses that end up in landfills.
That's
with a water bed,
yeah.
What are you going to have? Water.
Yeah, water. That's right.
Right. All right. Let's get on that.
Can you pop it?
Oh yeah. Oh, and then when one leaks, oh, it's a fucking nightmare.
See, that's a problem. That's like probably the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Is that if you were to wear anything spiky, like you got your spiky jacket on, I don't know who, maybe you're really into Kiss.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
This was pre-spiky. It was definitely generation one. Like you're supposed to, when you go to waterbed, it was supposed to have a frame. But of course, frame was for fancy people. And in my dad's apartment, it was just everybody's waterbed was just lying on the ground. And it's much more likely to get a rip in the seam because the frame supports it a little bit, like a wooden frame, like like a big box, right?
So let's say you're in that frame and then it cuts, let's say a slit happens in the middle of the night, you wake up in a pool of water.
Probably, I don't think the frames were watertight. You wake up with a very wet bedroom. Because, there's a lot of...
They don't sound so appealing anymore.
There's a reason they went out of style. All right, so I'm going to finally get to the part of the story that I was really going to tell.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm living with Dad and Dickie and Cardi, and we're living now in San Pedro. And actually, all the water beds are gone because they've all popped, and we've moved back. We moved on to normal fucking beds.
Yeah.
And we're at the Gillum's house again, when you heard about the Gillums earlier, because we would always go there after school, and my dad would have a couple of cocktails, and the kids would, smoke a joint, maybe. I don't think I was smoking pot then, and we'd play cards. We played cards a lot. And I'm in the hallway. I'm 17, right? I'm about to graduate high school. Mm-hmm. And by the hair of my chinny chin chin, I barely had enough credits to graduate because guess what? I had a letter on file that I didn't have to go. I was absent. Yeah. I was absent more days my senior year than I was present.
So how do you even graduate? How does it even work?
Well, the way I graduated,
you just find out a way.
I graduated because, okay, I'll tell you this part too. 3 days before graduation, I get called into my counselor's office. Uh-huh. I'm in typing class, which I'm failing, by the way. How do you fail typing? I don't know. But, and then I went on to be a writer. So, yeah. So sad. So, and I get called into my counselor, my guidance counselor, Mrs. Yee. I think she was Korean. And by the way, I had never had a meeting with Mrs. Yee, not once. And she'd been my guidance counselor for 4 years. She didn't do a lot of guiding. I'm just saying that.
Honestly, it seems to be a trend with a lot of guidance counselors. You know, they seem to not be very good at that.
Yeah. Like nobody talked to me about going to college. Nobody did. I mean, and all my friends are making applications and moving on. And I'm just trying to get through the day, you know?
Yeah.
Not be have enough self-esteem to put clothes on that barely fit me because I was eating a lot in those days. That's the way I was handling my anxiety and my depression. It was a lot of food. But other people, they're like, oh, they're going to college. I just am trying to make it to graduation, which seems to be the light at the end of the tunnel. So I get called into Mrs. Yee's office, get pulled out of class, which is always scary to get pulled out of class. And she's like, well, you don't have enough credits to graduate. I was like, what? Excuse me, wait, what? What do you mean? How is that possible? She said, well, you didn't take enough credits in your senior year. I said, but why? Well, you're telling me now? You're telling me now 3 days before graduation? I mean, isn't that what you're supposed to do? Aren't you supposed to tell me? Well, all I know is that all your peers are graduating and it turns out you don't have enough credits. Like, what are you talking about? Of course, I start to weep, right? And the thing that's so fucked up, she's like she got me. I got you. I got you, you little shit who has that letter on file in the attendance office. I got you.
I don't know what's up with teachers. I don't know what's up with teachers and feeling accomplished when they're able to corner a kid.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like, let's say you're middle-aged, let's say you're like 45-year-old teacher and you've cornered this like 18, 17, 16-year-old. That doesn't make you a better person.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, because some people go into teaching for the right reasons and some people go into teaching because they can laud their power over children that have less power or no power. So
yeah, it's crazy.
So there I am weeping, watching my graduation disappear. And I'm like, what, summer school? No, you're going to have to go to summer school. I'm like, I am not fucking this. I'm thinking this. I'm not going to summer school. So then the next day, we have a meeting, Mrs. Yee, mom, and dad. Okay. So I don't know the last time my mom and dad were in the same room together, right?
Oh my gosh.
So Mrs. Yee and some Mrs. Yee's wearing a dress like your color, like this maroon thing. She's got like a kind of a little flip. Dandruff so bad you can see it on her shoulders, right?
Oh my God. That's such a small detail you remember.
Yeah, but you don't forget that. You don't forget bad dandruff. And especially, like, if she had been nice, I wouldn't have mentioned the dandruff, right? If Mrs. Yee had called me in and said, Nelsie, we got to figure out how to get you out of here, I would not have mentioned the dandruff. But come on. Fuck you and your dandruff. So, so me and my mom and my dad and Mrs. Yee are all there, right?
Yeah.
And my dad, who looks like he looks like he just flew in from a commune. You know, his hair's a little long. He's got the sideburns. I don't know. He's wearing some maybe a pair of pajama tops that he repurposed as a shirt. I mean, he just doesn't look very, what's the word I'm looking for? Reliable, professional. But
your guidance counselor's looking at this and like, oh
yeah. Oh, he's the guy. He's the guy who put the letter. Yeah, he's the guy with the letter. I got him too. That's what she's thinking. I got him.
Yeah.
And my mother, of course, is dressed in navy blue with a cardigan. She's got hose on. She's got a nice pump with a sensible heel. Her hair's just been done, right? She's got pearls on, right?
She was
my
ready.
mom's, and both she and Mrs. Yee are like, we fucking got her. Like, my mom was not on my side. And I'm
the repercussions are coming.
Right. Payback's a bitch, Nelsie. Right? And I'm crying. And I'm like, how could this happen? This was not my fault. You're my guidance counselor. Why didn't you tell me? And she's like, well, that's not my job. It's like, well, then what is your job? What is everyone else is graduating. Like, that doesn't seem to be right.
Yeah.
So my dad says, well, what about work credits? Like, she worked at C.H. Baker all last summer, which is a shoe store that was at the local mall. And she was like, would that count? And she was like, Mrs. Yee was like, well, I'd have to take a look at it. She'd have to fill out the right papers. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Because I was like,
I hate her so much.
Oh, I hate her so much. Hate her so much.
Oh, man.
So my dad saved the day. And I go down to fucking CH Baker's and they fill out the forms and I got the credits I need. Wow. And I graduate high school.
Wow.
Right? So this isn't, we haven't even gotten to the, we haven't even gotten to the story I was going to tell. But it's kind of good because if I go from, I can't wait to get out of here. I'm done. Freedom. I hear the angels singing to, you're fucked. You're not getting out of here. You have to go to summer school to, I'm getting out of here. Right? Because all I wanted was to not have to go to school anymore. I wanted freedom. Yeah. And so I know that I'm graduating. I don't even go to the graduation ceremony, by the way, because neither of my parents were even going to come to it because they were too self-absorbed. And I don't know why, but I didn't go. I went and sat in the bleachers with my brother Cardi and watched my classmates graduate. Did
you go to prom?
No.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't do either of those things.
Prom was for losers. I mean, well, you have to remember it was the 70s, right? And people that went to prom were like kissies. I mean, that was an expression we would use, or rah-rahs. Kissies were people that were just goody-goodies, and rah-rahs were people who played sports. Now, there's nothing wrong with either of those things, but I was a little fucked up. So you didn't go to prom? Or your graduation ceremony?
I homeschooled the last two.
Oh, that's right.
I dropped out of high school. Yeah,
that's
so
right.
I homeschooled the last 2 years. I got an email. That was my graduation ceremony. And then prom, there's no prom for homeschools.
Right, exactly. Like you went into the living room and danced around.
Yeah.
Gave yourself a corsage.
I remember when I got the email that said I was graduated, I was like, oh, all right, well, that happened. And then I just went and told my dad, like, Dad, you got graduated. I was like, oh, good. All right.
Good job, son. High five.
What do you want for dinner?
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but go back 1 week because I haven't not gone to this ceremony yet. We're at the Gillums. I'm living with Dickie and Cardi and Dad in San Pedro. I'm walking down the hallway and I hear my dad and Kay and Tom, those are the parents at the Gillums house, chatting. And I hear my dad go, well, my kids won't move out, so I have to. And so I stop because I'm like, what's he talking about? And everybody laughs. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to have to move. That's the only way I'm going to get them out of there. Okay, keep in mind, I'm 17. I haven't even graduated yet. Cardi's 19. Dickie's 21. Mm-hmm. Okay, one could argue that Dickie and Cardi should be gone. One could argue that. But it's not like we're in our 30s and we're still living at home. You know? So I hear that, and I don't remember whether I told Dickie and Cardi or not. I just remember stopping in the hallway and going, oh, I guess he's got a point. Yeah, I guess I should figure out what I'm going to do. Right? 17. Barely making it through the day.
This is a very American thing.
You
get out of the house at 18. Yeah.
They don't do that in the Philippines?
No, you live with your parents as long as they actually want you to stay at home so you can provide for the family, and we're all a huge unit, but not my family.
Well, because you also have an American influence in your dad, right?
My dad, and my mom was on board with like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. But
she got that Hallmark card that says "Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Happy graduation, and you open it, and it says "Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah, it's like my dad's like, "Oh, you graduated, so you getting a place?"
Plans?
Or yeah, what's going on? So
yeah, you know what? It's been 10 minutes since you got that email. What's up, Ronnie?
Exactly.
I'll help you pack.
Yeah. U-Haul or. It's like, oh, okay.
I got some of those 30-gallon Glad bags. I can help you put your stuff together.
Yeah. Exactly.
Dad. Oh, so sentimental. So then 2 days later, my dad sits me and Dickie and Cardi down in the living room in our little house in San Pedro. And he says, well, the rent is paid until the end of the month. And then I'm moving to Orange County. So you guys have till the 30th, but you're going to have to find a place to stay.
Oh, my God. How long is till the 30th?
Well, maybe, I would say 3 weeks at the most, but I don't remember. All I know is it's June. I haven't graduated yet.
And this is the first time you would have to be out on your own if you have to. I don't have a
job. I spend my free time stealing chocolate chip cookies from my brother's room. Like, I am really not doing well. You know, I'm just really, I'm depressed. I don't have, I think I was dancing. Like I danced in high school a lot. That was maybe my big focus. But when you're eating compulsively, you're not putting a leotard on very often because you have all this shame about your body. Or I did. So, and looking back, I was not that heavy. I really had that body dysmorphia.
Self-image, yeah.
Yeah, I was really, because I'd been so skinny that when I got kind of curvy, I just had a lot of self-hate. So Dad says that. Cardi's like, I can't wait to get out of here, right? And Dickie's like, yeah, fuck him, right? Both Dickie and Cardi. By this time, Dickie and Cardi both hate Dad by this time. Okay. I don't know if hate's the right word, but they both think he's kind of, he's not as cool as he once seemed, right?
So they're over it.
They're a little over it. Yeah, they're not really buying his act anymore. And I don't really remember how I felt. All I know is that I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
So Dickie gets an apartment with somebody. Cardi gets an apartment with somebody else. Dad moves out. I'm still at the house. All the furniture is gone except for my bed and my dresser. And I go and I get my wisdom teeth out. My mother had made the appointment for the wisdom teeth like months before. And she drives me to the appointment and brings me home. And I'm by myself in an empty house with swollen cheeks and no plan. I'm 17 and everybody's gone. And I do not have a plan. And I'm lying there. I have the prescription for the codeine in my hand, but I haven't gotten it filled. And my cheeks are all swollen and they're pounding. And I'm just lying there and I hear a sound and I open my eyes and I look up and my dad is leaning over me. And he says, "Where's your mom?" I'm like, "I don't know. She dropped me off. I think she's at her house." He picks me up and he puts me in the back of the car. His car, he's got this big old Impala, one of these big old boaty cars, and it's all rusted piece of shit. But he lies me down in the back seat. And he takes my stereo and I had packed everything up, but I didn't know where I was going. And he puts everything sort of in the trunk of the car. And he drives me to Orange County, where he's now living, to the Colonial Lodge, which is a mental health facility where he is the director. And it's a non-locked mental health facility, like sort of a halfway house. It's not a hospital. And he has started this place. And that's why he was moving to Orange County. And
did you know that?
I did. I knew that he had this brainchild because he'd now been in the mental health field sort of tangentially for maybe a year or 2 years, maybe 3 years.
Okay.
And he takes me and takes me this big facility, 57-bed facility, but above it are 2 apartments. So he takes me to one of the apartments upstairs and puts me down on a hospital bed because that was the bed that they had in this apartment. And that's where I lived for 2.5 years, above my father's mental hospital. And I ended up working there. And I wrote a novel about it that turned into a memoir and now actually is a TV pilot and a TV pitch that's called Running the Asylum. But that was the story of me losing several homes.
Well, it seems when you got to the hospital, things, for the most part, got stable.
It was stable and it was okay. I mean, a lot of fucked up stuff happened, which is why it would make a great TV show, because 2.5 years is a long time and you got crazy people and you got my dad who's very, very charismatic. I mean, my dad's a typical sociopath in that he's very charismatic, funny, charming, smart as the dickens. And it was almost like a cult, and people followed him, and the residents loved him. But what was great about it for me is I had a job. I had a job where I had a certain amount of power, not in a fucked up way, but I actually passed out. At age 17, I was passing out medication to psychotics. Oh, that's right. You get Mellaril. Oh, and I think, you Thorazine, right? I mean, I was looking at medical charts. I was meeting so I had a job and I had structure and I got paid and I got paid. And I even fell in love with one of the residents.
Really?
And by the way, another story. By the way, he wasn't psychotic. He was an addict. Which in those days,
that's better.
So much better. So much better. I mean, at least he didn't hear voices, and he knew what reality was, right? I mean, we had people there that thought they were Jesus Christ. We had one guy, Rick Rothrock, who thought he was Jesus, looked a little like Jesus, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So
we will have to get into that at some point.
Oh, such a good story.
Because that's very interesting.
Oh, Mark.
What was he addicted to?
The list was long. I mean,
all right.
He would drink, but he liked pills. He liked Vicks Formula 44. Cough syrup doesn't have it in it anymore, but they used to have a drug in it called dextromethorphan hydrobromide, something like that. Yeah. But it was.
They still have that.
They still do. Well, if you drink a whole bottle of it.
Over the counter.
Yeah.
And they call it robo-tripping.
Well, he was robo-tripping before it was a thing, honey. He was robo-tripping back in the 70s.
Robitussin.
Robitussin
has it? Yeah.
So, well, he was a Vicks formula. Horrible.
It's horrible, yeah.
And by the way, he was a great guy and had periods of sobriety and, and adored me.
Struggled.
Had struggled and was a nice guy. Was a nice guy. Unfortunately, back in those days, AA was a thing, but Narcotics Anonymous wasn't as much of a thing. And and people with addiction, and it still happens, but people with addiction would end up in mental hospitals because if you fall through the cracks, oftentimes that's just where you end up. Oh my God! So many stories, so little time. I'm exhausted.
Well, that was a very fruitful story. That was a lot. There was a lot going on there.
You got a lot. That was a lot. You got from 10 to 17. That's a lot of years there. I skipped the part of losing my virginity, and that's a great story too. And a losing it story, but I will never tell that on this podcast because
really?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe. So, 3 questions. Don't you have to ask me 3 questions?
So I'm going to ask you 3 questions. I think you might know them. If you don't, I would be concerned. So the first one is, what is the first one? What do you
Something you hope you lose. Yeah, that's usually the first one.
What do you hope to lose in the next year?
I think I might have said the exact same thing when I did it with Lindsay, but I hope to lose judgment of self and others. I still judge myself a lot and others a lot, and I want to just have I just want to be gentler. So I want to lose that self-critic.
Yeah, that's a freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you hope to gain in the next year?
I have to gain a really big audience for Losing It.
Yeah, me too.
A really big audience for Losing It. I really think what we do here is fun and good and interesting, and I really want it to grow.
Absolutely. I like that one.
That's a good one, right? Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And last question, what do you hope you never lose?
Well, it's funny because I listened to my episode with Lindsay this morning because I wanted to make sure I wasn't telling the same story. And as you know, I have no short-term memory. So it was like, what was the fucking story I told? And what I said with Lindsay is I hope I never lose my willingness to try. And I think I want to stick with that. I mean, I love humor. I never want to lose my sense of humor. And I never want to lose my desire to connect with people. But I think that I don't want to lose my desire to try because... I don't know. I think you're kind of fucked. I mean, I'm a creator. That's what I do. So I hope that I never sort of give up on on trying, regardless of whether 21 people are listening or 2,100 people or 21,000 people are listening. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's have a nice.
Yeah, that's good. That's
it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's my story, Morning Glory. Which is a saying. It's a saying, Ronnie.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I love your sayings. I love all of them. They make me think for weeks on end.
It was
about
funny.
them.
I was telling Doug about how you guys the sayings that you hadn't heard of, and he's like, "How are you going to keep them down on the farm after they've seen Paris? They never heard of that." I was like, no, because you and I are baby boomers and our parents were World War II. This is a long fucking time ago, right?
Yeah, it's funny. The sayings are relevant to something that I don't really understand.
Right.
Yeah. Like the kettle of peas thing, why would you have a kettle with peas in it? You know what I mean? Like, why would you want to do that?
Ronnie. Kettle of peas is not even the expression. That is not an expression. That is one I've made up. It's kettle of fish. I didn't know. I didn't intentionally make it up. It's kettle of fish or
I see.
Or can of peas.
Okay. It slightly makes more sense. I guess.
Can of peas is like, oh, that's a whole can of peas. Because if a can of peas falls over, all the peas are going to roll around. You can't get them back. It's really hard to get them back. Right?
Yeah, can't get them back. Yeah,
right. A can of peas is something that's an issue. Wow, how are we going to handle this? That's a can of peas.
It's such a right? Yeah. Yeah, I like. You know what my favorite saying is? What? Man, you really screwed the pooch on this one. I'm like, whoa, hold on.
I know. That's like, whoa.
Wait. When does that happen?
When does that happen? And do not put that image in my head. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
And it means that you're really like fucked up. Like if you're fucking a dog, you fucked up bad.
But
we already know that.
Don't screw a pooch. That's just not nice. Pooches cannot give consent. Okay?
It's never an accident. So.
Ronnie, how'd you get us down that rabbit hole? So,
man.
Wow. So that was like a grief workshop. That was like, man.
Let's do the letter.
Oh, that's right. We got a letter. We've got a letter.
So last week we asked after we had Jed, who had brain cancer, and he used to get through that. He had a lot of inspirations from these martial artists that really pushed him to continue to live and fight. Yeah. And so we asked who are the people in your guys' life who helped you get through something or inspired you somehow, right?
Yeah. So we got this letter. Thank you, Ronnie. So the letter says, "Dear Nelsie, my mother inspires me." That's nice. She grew up as the bubble child of the family, the middle child. Excuse me, I burped. I thought she meant she was one of those kids that didn't have any immune system, so she had to live in a bubble. I was like, wow, that's a story. Let's go deep.
That is a story.
Let's go deep. Yeah. But no, she was the bubble child, which means the middle child. I've never heard that expression. The weird one, the shy one, until she met my dad. over D&D. Oh, Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, that's very cute. She got honors in accounting, pursuing a career in finances despite having a passion for art, but knowing it wasn't a viable career path in the early 90s. Now, she finally is almost 2 years into her career after raising 2 surprise autistic children into somewhat self-sufficient adults. Oh my God. We grew up poor with her working call center jobs and going to university with 2 babies at the time, graduated when I just entered kindergarten. She never gave up hope that things would be better someday. Oh my God. That, despite the challenges presented, all of us would come out of it okay. Now I'm pursuing a career utilizing my creative and artistic skills inherited from both my parents and hoping once my ADHD and depression are under control, I can finally follow her footsteps of going to school for what I love. Bernice P. Oh my God. That is such a good story. My God. Yeah. I love you, Bernice P. You just keep doing what you're doing, sweetheart. That's a really good one. And her mom inspires her. Wow. The weird one. Her mom was the weird one and the shy one. And her mom and dad met over Dungeons and Dragons. Like, how old are her parents? I mean, everybody's so much younger than I am, Ronnie. Which I don't want to say.
Wait, you didn't play Dungeons and Dragons?
Dungeons and Dragons did not exist when I was a child, sweetheart. No.
When did it come out? Oh, that's interesting. I don't know.
80s maybe?
I thought it came out like when there was like Dungeons and Dragons around. And that was the real
Ronnie.
They were playing the game, you know?
You did not think that. You did not think that.
Well, how do you put a time on that, you know?
Yeah, I grew up a long time ago when there were still a lot of dragons and dungeons in Southern California. You'd be on your way to the beach to go surfing and you'd pass a dragon. And, you know, sometimes he was carrying a surfboard too. So Bernice, that was great. That's one. I think that might be my favorite one. I really like that story. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Bernice. So what do we ask for next week, Ronnie?
It was you told your story, right? And what was your story?
You losing my home, but also losing my family, and also
finding stability.
Yeah.
You know?
And I found it at a mental hospital. I found stability at a mental hospital. Right? Who knew? I did not see that coming.
That's a good. How did you find stability in your life? I think it's different for a lot of people. Sometimes it's like a partner. Sometimes it's a job. Sometimes it's a location or the place they are in their life. Or
sometimes it's school.
New skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's a good one.
I feel like maybe that's
That's a good one. Now, I want to talk about one last thing. When Losing It started, Lindsay was my producer, and then, as you guys all know, Lindsay got married and moved to Boston and got a promotion, and it wasn't working for her anymore. And so for a while, I had no producer, and I was just limping along. But I did have a few podcasts. I did interview a few people, and one of the people I interviewed during that time was this amazing woman who I found on Instagram, and her Instagram handle is hello.fab. And the reason I fell in love with her is because all of her posts are her in some fantastic fashion. And she's got this quirky fashion sense, and she has this super short hair, like a pixie haircut. Like, I want to be brave enough to go that short, but I never have. And it's like really blonde. And I just started following her, and I adore you. And then the next thing I know, she's on my podcast. Because will you please be on my podcast? And she was on my podcast when I was in between producers, and I wasn't doing video. And I don't remember the episode number, but it's back in April 1965, 2019. And her name is, I never get her last name is long and begins with a Z, Jessica Zampiello. And Ronnie got an email from this woman saying, hi, and I hadn't seen Jessica on Instagram recently because I love her posts because they're so fun and interesting and she's so creative. And I found out a few months ago that she had stomach cancer. And we texted back and forth and, it sounded like it wasn't a big deal. But I still hadn't seen her posting. And recently I thought, I haven't checked in with her. And we got an email saying that I'm a friend of Jessica Zampiello's. I watched her interview, but I'm wondering if you still had the video. I'm not sure if you're aware, but she had been battling stomach cancer these last few months. Unfortunately, she passed away this morning, and our hearts are very heavy. I wanted to reach out and even share the interview of her with everyone. So this episode is dedicated to Jessica, and her episode, like I said, is April something. I think April 6th, did I say, Ronnie?
We'll put it in the description.
We'll put it in the description. And her episode was all about her losing her invisibility cloak, which when she went from having like shoulder length hair to having this pixie cut, it unearthed this whole other side of her. She started wearing bold lipstick. She started wearing these big earrings, and it was all about her just emerging. Mm-hmm. And it was such a great episode, and she's so great. And she's got, I know I need to say she had this anyway, listen to the episode. She's amazing. Her Instagram feed is still up, hello.fab, and you will love it. So, Jessica, we're thinking about you. And if you are thinking about cutting your hair real short, cut it. If you are thinking of wearing some big fucking bold earrings, wear them. If you are thinking of doing something bold but not sure you should, do it. Is that good?
That was good.
God, it was a double Kleenex. So the last thing that I need to say to all of you is, please, I beg of you, don't poop in the ocean. Oh no! I've got to say, follow us on Instagram, motherfucker. Oh. Please, Ronnie. Oh, what should we do?
Well, yeah. I mean, I can do it. You want me to do it?
Please do it. I'm verklempt. Okay. You do it.
All right, guys. So you can write your letters to losingitcontact@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube if you're listening on YouTube. We're also on all podcasting platforms. And you can check out the merch store in the link in the description or at nelsiespencer.com.
He did that so effortlessly. And really, guys, wherever you listen, really subscribe and write a review, because all we have is 5-star reviews, which is great, but we love those reviews, and you subscribing moves us up in the ranks. Okay, and tell your friends, and tell your enemies, tell people that that you have no opinion about. All right. And I have to say it again: don't poop in the ocean. Right? Okay. You saying bye? Is it time to say bye? We're saying bye.
You came and you listened to the story. I hope so much that it didn't make you sorry, and I hope so much that you'll come back again.
Losing It, hosted by Nelsie Spencer, produced by me, Ronnie Whaley. Theme song by Hunter Williams. Follow us online on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all podcasting platforms at Losing It Podcast. Viewers can email Nelsie with questions or comments about life, writing, comedy, or even your own Losing It story for a chance to be on the Losing It Podcast at losingitcontact@gmail.com. For everything Nelsie and everything Losing It, visit us at nelsiespencer.com.